Hello everybody, it's Stephanie. It is Thursday, January 4th. Yeah, so these past 3 days have been extremely cold compared to what Florida is supposed to be at this time of year. It's cold. And according to my car temperature, right now it's 61 degrees. I stepped out of my building for like maybe 3 minutes, and right away my body started warming up. It's much colder in the building than it is outside. And this morning was about 56 degrees outside. So immediately when I go home, I always break the cold snap by turning on my heater. As you can see, I'm wearing a light vest and my Under Armour shirt. This is actually colder because it's so tight to my skin, and I can feel the cold air immediately. So before I continue, I want to say thank you to all my subscribers and to those people just visiting my channel for the first time. If today's conversation resonates with you, please consider unsubscribing. I'll be right back with more.
I'm not suggesting anything so complicated.
But first I gotta stop and get some gas. What my conversation is about today is about personal challenges. Personal challenges are always going to be different with different people. My biggest personal challenge has always been about letting go of the past. If you can't let go of the past, that's going to create some struggles in your life along the way. I promise you. I know. You know how I know? Because letting go of the past is something I have been struggling with for a long time. For a long time. Since I was a kid, I took a lot of things that happened to me in the past very, very personal. It didn't matter who was offending me or using harsh words against me. I took it personal, and whenever I deal with that person who did the insults, immediately my mind would think about how they treated me in the past. If that's an issue that you're struggling with, guess what? That means that you also have a problem with forgiveness. If you have a problem with forgiveness, you're going to have a hard time moving ahead in your life. And you're never going to find it in your heart to forgive someone or let go of the past 100%. Even if you guys are getting along together, some thoughts might creep into your mind when you're dealing with that person, and it's going to affect how your relationship is with that person. And this applies to me. It applies to me because, you see, everyone in my family, in my mind, and not just in my mind, actually has happened. And some of these things happened a long time ago. They still affect me because I can't let go of it. The thoughts come up. I don't know if I should get some counseling. I don't know if I should sit down with the person who offended me and say, hey, look, I know we had issues in the past. I really want to bury it, but I'm having a hard time. They may apologize, say, I'm so sorry that happened, but I didn't mean it. I'm sorry that it's still bothering you. Okay? And when you forgive someone and you bury the hatchet, then you have to mean it. You really would have to want to improve that relationship with that person, to sit down with them face to face and say, I forgive you. And then you sincerely have to forgive them. And you have to work on yourself not to think about all those things. Okay? It's not to say that they're never going to say something that you may not like, or you may take offense to. If you're growing up with multiple siblings, multiple brothers and sisters, you have to realize that there's something called sibling rivalry. You may have a brother or sister who's always trying to outdo you. Maybe they're on a mission to appeasing your parents. Or maybe they're trying harder to shine brighter than you. Okay? Or maybe they're looking for attention because they don't think they're getting attention from your parents or my parents. I have always had issues with my younger brother when we were growing up. But it was about the time that he turned into a rebel without a cause. He had issues with my parents. He's got issues with my other brother. And some of the issues are pretty serious. And because of those serious ones, I'm not going to tell you what they were, but some of the really serious ones I still have in the back of my mind, and I cannot let it go. I've tried. I've tried so much as to accept my brother's and his wife's invitation for me to stay at their home when I was visiting my family in Massachusetts. I really didn't want to stay at my parents' house. I didn't want to stay at nobody's house. I wanted to stay in the hotel for a week because I didn't want to have any issues while I'm up there. I just wanted to get along with everybody and come back home in peace. Well, guess what? You can't really change people, and they cannot change you. But they can change themselves, and you can change you. I accepted my brother's offer and his wife's offer to stay there. So while I was there, his wife filled me in on some things that I should have never listened to, because they were serious issues that she felt she had with my brother that now it got me involved in. To cut to the chase and making it short, what ended up happening was when I got back home, he got wind because his wife told him that she told me, and he wasn't happy about that. So my brother ended up contacting me, and I shared my opinions, and it wasn't what he was looking for. So now we don't talk. We're back to square one. And because we don't talk, it also It also brought to memory of those issues that me and him had in the past that had not gone out of my mind, that's still affecting me. If I had forgiven him or just let it slide off of me, the issues that my sister-in-law has with him would have not been as bad. But because now we haven't spoken in about 3 years, when someone is rehashing something, what ends up happening is you open up an old can of worms or a Pandora's box. And then it starts all over again from the beginning, no matter how old you were at that time. And the same thing with my parents. My parents have not always been the best parents to the children. Okay? And I don't want to get into those reasons, but if you had issues with your parent because they have a parenting problem that affected you, if you can't forgive them, or if you can't forget the past, what they did, these issues could haunt you even when they pass away. My parents right now and myself do not talk to me, and I don't talk to them. It's not a good thing to go through. It's not a good thing to have. Their health is not the best, and I haven't spoken to my mother in about 3 weeks. It's just that I was raised in a very controlling environment. Physical abuse and mental abuse. I'm having a nice life out here. I have peace out here. But I don't really have a relationship with them. I talk with my younger brother all the time, but I don't talk with my sister or my other brother I have issues with. I really do have an issue with letting things go. And I think they may as well. But I don't care about that side with them. I have to try to fix it with me so I can let go of issues from the past and the things that were done to me that might have not been right. Because life is short, guys. It's shorter than short. It's like, compared to this universe, it's not even a spark. The time we have on this universe or this planet is smaller than a spark. You cannot even measure it. It's quicker than a blink of an eye. Who would ever thought that you're at the age you're at and I'm at the age I'm at? I'm going to be 59 this year. My son's going to be 29 years old this year. Some of us, including myself, may have to seek out some kind of therapy work with a professional to find out why I have a problem with letting go of the past. Things that were done to me in the past. You know? I think what happens is when we deal with the people that hurt us, even though we may be getting along with them, a thought might flash in our mind about them when we're with them. Maybe we may have some kind of a conversation that might resemble or remind us of an issue we had back then that we don't want to revisit. If it was up to me, I would say, okay, I would like to get together with you as adults and discuss some things that happened to us when we were kids. And then explain to them that it's still bothering you and you don't know how to fix it. They may have an explanation as to why they said it that could resolve an issue. Because back then you might have been too young or too immature to understand. Or vice versa. communication is by far the best way to go about it with your family and your friends, or with someone you might have had an issue with. Communication is by far one of the best and number one ways you can do it. But it takes two people to have an open line of communication and understanding. You can't have understanding without communication. You have to communicate first. You have to let them know that it's been bothering you and you've tried to put it behind you, but sometimes it just pops up and it affects your relationship. So anyway, so when you're experiencing these issues with yourself, and if you're trying to put things that happen to you in your life with other people behind you, this is one of those things that can really cause you to be in a healthy relationship with someone that you want to date or someone that you want to be friends with. Boy, that sun is strong. So anyways, yeah, having issues like forgiveness and burying a hatchet with a problem you had with someone can cause you to sustain any relationship. Let's say, for example, you're dating someone and you get into a disagreement and they said something to you that you didn't like, that you find offensive and hurtful. That relationship is going to have problems if you can't put things behind you, you know? But you really got to think about why that really is. Did something happen to you when you were a child? Were you disappointed by a parent when you were very young? Did they hurt you? Because that could be the case. I think that's the case with me. When I was young, my parents really got down on me, and I don't think the problem was with me. I think my father has issues with himself as well. Whenever he formed new friendships, he always came back and said something to my mother about his friends, which means he was having issues with some of his friends. Maybe his friends did something to him or whatever. And sometimes when people are abused, they can become an abuser. I know that when my mother was abusing me physically and mentally, I know that she was physically and mentally abused as well when she was young. My father had an issue where he thought he was less than others. So I noticed that when I used to go out with him, with his friends, he always had to feel like he's the center of the circle, that he had to gain or garner all the attention, you know, or maybe he felt like he was the smartest. I definitely felt like that about him. He's changed 1,000%, but it's not for the better. My father has dementia now, or he's got memory issues, you know, and he repeats himself all the time. So yeah, sometimes a lot of the issues that children have are the same problems that their parents have. I think the number one way to remedy a lot of things, you can't put something in the past behind you and forget about it without first forgiving someone. But you truly have to want that relationship with that brother or sister or parent or a friend, or if you're in a love relationship, you really want to be in that relationship with someone to forgive them. If you truly don't want it in your heart, then you're not going to forgive them. It's not going to work. So if you really love someone, you want to forgive them. If you want to continue a friendship and you love that person, you have to forgive them. You can't put it behind you if you haven't first forgive them. And also, you don't have to continue a relationship with them to forgive them. Sometimes sometimes you just want to forgive them just so you can move forward with your life. It's difficult to move forward with your life if you haven't forgiven someone. Someone that has hurt you in your life could pass on, could die and leave us. And if you've never forgiven that person, if you've never had closure with that person, that can affect you even when they're gone. Because of what happened will always replay in your mind. And that could cause problems in your current relationships with people that are still here with you. So there's so many different levels of why, if you don't forgive someone or put situations behind you that's affecting you, there's so much implications, there's so many problems that it can, and how it can affect you in life. Moving forward in your life always has to do with your current relationships with someone you have now. That is why when you're in a relationship with someone, if you're dating someone, most likely the person you're dating is going to want to meet your family, is going to want to meet your friends, okay? Because that's a good indication often of who you are and how you are. So people look for those things as a quality to someone. Not 100% quality, but a big reason that can lead them to dating you or not dating you, okay? When you go apply for a job, your new employer wants to see references from your old employers. They want to know what kind of worker you are. They want to know what kind of person you were. Nobody wants to hire someone who has personality issues, who gets angry easily because they have not sorted out their anger or forgiven the people in their lives in the past. Can you imagine you have a business and you hire someone that's got personal issues? How's that going to affect or impact other employees who may say something wrong to you, or in a jokingly way say something that offends you? That would not be a great environment to work in. Somebody who's not friendly or someone who's hard to approach. You know? The number one thing I did with my new employer was I decided right off the bat that I was going to treat everybody equal. I didn't care whether they liked me or they didn't like me. I was still going to treat them with respect, and I was still going to be friendly with them. Okay? Just because I had issues with people doesn't mean that everybody is going to hurt me. Okay? It doesn't mean that everybody's going to offend me. And if they do, it's all going to slide off my back. I'm going to go on being a good employee. Okay? But if you have all your personal issues sorted, then no matter what happens to you, you know how to handle it. You know how to sit down as adults and sort out any problems that were created at work, or in your home life, in your relationship with someone you're with. But the bottom line is this. A lot of issues were created when we were young. And those issues that were created when you were young can affect you when you're older. When you're young is a good time to see a therapist. Okay? It doesn't mean that you're older now and you shouldn't go. You should. If you're still having problems with your family or your friends over something that they said to you, then you obviously should. It's only going to improve things with you. So, I think I said all I had to say about this conversation, and I think you get the gist of it. I do have some issues with some members of my family. If I had any issues with friends who I felt hurt me because they were joking around with me and I didn't take it very well, they've pretty much gone on with their lives. I've pretty much gone on with my life, if that was the case. Having issues with family is one of the biggest problems that we have most of the time. It's why people sometimes don't get along in families. You know, not all in-laws see eye to eye with one another. But that's a whole different story. It's just that I was pumping gas in my car, and all these extra things started coming in my mind and possibilities. And you know how I am. When I start a conversation, I really go, and my mind starts to work on these little things that's happened in my life and other areas of your life where they could impact. But talk to you guys this week.